Only street boys play football. That's what they told Michael Easien when he was growing up in Owutu-Breku, a small town in Ghana. Barefoot matches were seen as a distraction from studying. Easien proved himself on those streets of his homeland. He'd go on to be capped 58 times for his country and play for European giants AC Milan, Real Madrid and Chelsea. Now we've been given exclusive access to the tough tackling, fearless leader on the pitch, the shy, endearing, thoughtful man off it. From Stamford Bridge, his relationship with Jose Mourinho and how close he was to joining United.
Jose was talking to Sir Alex, and he saw me. He was like, you know this boy, I could have signed him when he was 16 years old.
Michael talks about the drive and determination that earned him the nickname the Bison.
I'm in business when I'm on the pitch, and I'm a fighter. I want to win, and to win you need to work hard.
And we find out what it was like to win his first Premier League title.
I grew up watching the Premier League, and to come in and win it, and for the club to do back-to-back was something special.
And who makes up his best ever Chelsea 11.
You have him in your team, you know, you have 80% of winning the game.
Michael, I've got 90% chance score.
As laugh he may. What a treat to talk for an hour and a half about Michael Easien and to hear from Michael Easien. Not for an hour and a half, though, because there's two other talkers in this family relationship right here. Ray Wilkins, he's coached him. You also have the honour, Ray, of beating him when it comes to something. Do you know what that is?
Go on.
You won Chelsea Player of the Season how many times? Twice. He only won it once.
Twice, I think, yeah.
Which was once more than George Boateng. Although, had you been there, George,
well,
I'm saying you would have won it.
Just happy to be around them, probably, maybe.
You two are perfectly apt to be here and talk about him. Coaching him, what was he like as a player?
No, he was a beast. There's no two ways about it. He once hit me. We were playing in a circle where you just keep the ball away from the players in a square. And I went to get the ball off Michael, and he stuck his right thigh out, and I hit his thigh, and he launched me like 3 metres away. And I thought, you are a beast. And when I used to see him play, he used to love the ball. When he passed the ball, he caressed the ball. And he caressed it into different areas. And I thought Michael was just one of these players that just come along once in a lifetime. And he was absolutely fantastic for Chelsea. The problem he had, of course, is he had another cruciate ligament. And he went to France to have it done. I didn't personally think it was the best place for him to go. And he never, ever got back to what he was.
It's such a part of every footballer's career, those key injuries and how
Absolutely.
you recover from it. But he did have a fantastic career, still playing. Of course. George, for you, I know there was a little bit of you that wanted to have played with him for Ghana. That wasn't to be, you both going separate routes. But as a man, knowing his family as you do, knowing him as you do, what's he like?
Tremendous guy. For me, he's a hero. He's a person that gives hope to a lot of people back in Ghana, knowing that Ghana is a proper football nation. And they've got few favourite players, such as, the old stars, Kingstons and, Stephen Appiah. But Michael Easien is a player a personality as well, that the nation kind of look up to. He's like a baby of a nation. And that says a lot about the way he's conducted himself on and off the pitch throughout his career.
It's amazing when you walk down the street in Accra, and I've been there, and you look on every Chelsea shirt on the back and there's his name. That shows how much they mean to him. For you, though, the family relationship too, you get to see the side of him that hopefully we'll see a bit of over the next hour and a half, but that personal side to him. Yeah,
when you know him from a different angle, similar to Ray, sees him every day coming in, training every day. But Michael's actually really a lovable guy. He's a bit shy. He's not very outspoken. But once you know him and you are together with him, then he's really, really fun person to be around with. But I take a lot of interest in how his career came about. This is what I really, because I compare his lifestyle with mine when I was growing up, how difficult it was, tried to make it to the game, being at Man United twice, have not quite worked out with the trial, going back home. Then how disappointed are you going back to the team? You see your family and then you think, I failed, And then still getting the opportunity to go to Bastia. to go there, train again. And again, it didn't quite happen the first time. Having to go back to Ghana, spend 2-3 months at home, wondering whether it's ever going to happen or not. It makes me appreciate then how far he's come and how good he became in the end.
I think the great thing about Michael as well, as fantastic a footballer as he was that as a bloke.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think, you know, we get lots of people come into our game whereby you look at them and you think, yeah, fantastic footballers, what are they like as a person? He was, as a bloke, absolutely magnificent.
Hopefully we'll get just a little measure of that over the next hour and a half then. Michael, as we've been hearing, is a proud Ghanaian.
Welcome to Ghana, my motherland, a place where football is etched in heart and embedded in the cracks of our souls. Football here is simply a passion. We are all obsessed. And all those who exhibited great skills on pitches both locally and internationally, we hold in high esteem. They are our heroes.
I was raised by my mom and kind of my 4 sisters and my grandma. So around me was all women, you know, and, you know, my mom was always supportive.
Your dad was a professional player, right?
He was always telling me he used to play football, but he kind of showed me a couple of pictures with, you know, when he was playing and stuff like that, but I never saw him playing. I was just like every other kid, you know, every kid loved to play with football, and, you know, the more you play with it, then you kind of fall in love with it. We always go out and play, you know, we play barefooted with no shoes and stuff like that, but, you know, it was just the fun and the joy out of, you know, playing football with your friends, and, you know, that's how it all started.
And when you were younger, how big was the Premier League?
Well, the Premier League was only kind of big thing that we get on TV back home then. So all we know is about the Premier League, and I know we kind of fall in love watching it.
And which team did you support? You're allowed to be honest.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I was a big Man United fan.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Why Man United?
Because, well, I like red colors, and, you know, growing up watching them, they were very good, and, you know, I was the likes of Cantona and them, Lord.
When you were growing up, what was your position?
I was more up front because I was quite big and chubby compared to my other friends. So I was up front, but sometimes I play at the back as well.
Tell us how it came about that you started playing in that central midfield role.
When I was like 16, 17, when I got a call up to the national under-17 side in Ghana, and one of the friendly games, and the coach asked me if I can play in the middle. After the tournament, then I actually had the chance to go to United for trials. I was 16, 17. Oh. I had a good trials back then, but I didn't have... what kind of stopped me is the work permit. You know, to work in England, you need this 70 or 75% playing for your national team, and I was too young for that.
Did you get to meet Sir Alex?
Yeah, I got the chance to meet him, and I met a couple of the players as well, Beckham and Roy Keane, and you know. So yeah, and the funny thing is when I was in Madrid, we played Man United, and I was in the dressing room before the game. You know, we went for the press conference, and Jose was talking to Sir Alex, and he saw me. He was like, you know this boy? I could have signed him when he was 16 years old. So he kind of, I was surprised, he kind of remember me.
Do you think back about what could have happened if you had played for Manchester United?
I'm not really the type that, you know, I'm a very free spirit guy, you know. I go with the flow, you know, and as they say, like, everything happened for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe if I went to Manchester at that time, I wouldn't I've made it to where I am, you know. So, I just took the opportunity to start from France, and everything went well.
You find a lot of young African players who say leaving home, having to adapt to completely different conditions, the language, all of that is always so difficult. For you, what was it like in France?
It was very difficult, because I couldn't speak any French to start with. And I'm very quiet and very kind of shy away, so I don't really mingle a lot with people. And the food, all I could eat is rice and chicken and bread. Bastia is very cold, but not too much cold as the other cities are.
And you flourished in France?
I remember when I signed for Bastia, they only signed me for 6 months to see my progression. And straight away, I started training with the first team. I was 18 back then. So I started training with the first team. I travel with them sometimes. And I play 10, 15 minutes. I come back the next day. I have to go with the reserves to play. Then after like 3-4 months or so, they gave me my first professional contract.
Welcome back to Michael Easien's Premier League today. And having spent 5 years playing for Bastia and Lyon in France, Michael moved to Chelsea for nearly £25 million in 2005, a club record fee. Manager Jose Mourinho calling Easien the final piece of his Chelsea jigsaw. So, how did the move come about?
It was Drogba who called me first and said, Chelsea are interested in you, and you might get a call or a text from Jose Mourinho. Would you like to come to the Premier League? And I said, yeah, why not? So I was, and then a couple of days I got a text from Jose, and yeah, that's how it all started.
Were there other teams that were interested in signing you?
There were Liverpool, Man United as well, but it was only Chelsea who could afford the money. Jose made it clear to me on the phone that I'm the one he wants. So it was easy for me to choose Chelsea.
Did you feel that? You felt needed? You felt wanted?
He made it clear that it's me I want, and he wants in his team. And he was kind of talking to me like every day, because moving was it was not easy, because Lyon did not want me to leave, so it was a long saga, transfer saga, those kind of things. So. And he was always there every day, telling me like, we'll fight together, we are together in this. And at the end, it happens. And I came and I went straight into the team. I enjoy playing football, and I think my first week or two got used to the players, and so straight away I felt at home, and it was easy for me to play the game.
Your debut for Chelsea was against Arsenal, and you came on as a substitute. Do you remember that game, that day?
I remember staying at there's a hotel near the stadium. So I came down to go to the dressing room, and the first thing I saw was this Chelsea fan. He was topless, and the whole of his back was the Chelsea logo, the Chelsea crown, tattooed. So I was like, oh, why am I, that kind of thing, because you don't see that in France, you don't see that anywhere. So then I went to the dressing room. The first thing I start talking about is the fan I saw. So then I knew, like, I'm in for a big challenge. I had the chance to come on the first half, and I think we won that game also. So it was a good start for me.
Here is the £26 million man. Chelsea have finally got their target, and they've now got him very quickly into action.
You did win that game.
We did.
1-0, yeah? Didier Drogba scored.
With his knees.
It's Drogba! He scored! And it's taken an extraordinary moment to open this game up.
Playing in England is very hard. The Premier League is not an easy league to play in, because you don't really get easy games and stuff like that. You have to work hard. You have to fight to win games. So that makes it more special.
It seems as if it's a different personality all in all. You really do come alive on the field of play.
That's true. I kind of off the pitch, yes. I'm very quiet and very reserved, I don't really go anywhere, mingle around. But when I'm on the pitch, it's a different story because I'm in business when I'm on the pitch, and I'm a fighter. I want to win, and to win, you need to work hard, and you need to be more. You need to be strong and be on point in your game. So yeah.
Look at this run from Stephen Warnock. It was a brilliant piece of play, and in the end, much appreciated tackle by Easien.
Those first couple of days at Chelsea, do you remember those days? Was there like an initiation song or something that you had to sing?
Every new player, when we're having dinner or something, when we have a game and we have dinner, you have to sing. So I have to do that, which I was very shy and embarrassed about, but it was fun.
What did you sing?
I don't even remember. Some local song or something like that.
Jose, as a manager, what is he like?
For me, one of the best.
Yeah.
He's very good at what he does. He knows the game inside out. He knows what to do at the right time. He knows what to say to his players to get the best out of them. And, he's just a football man.
What would you say are his biggest strengths as a manager?
When I was there back in the days, we have all these big players with big egos and stuff like that. But their big egos is in a positive way, not in a bad way, not in a negative way. Because Jose can say, "Oh, first half you're playing so bad, like what's wrong?" So he will say that just to you go back second half.
Play harder.
You play harder, yeah.
Is it true that he used to call you son?
That's son and daddy thing. It was when I went to when he took me to Real Madrid.
They call him the special one. How special is he to you?
Very special.
You still speak to him?
Yes, we're still in contact. We talk every now and then. He played a big part in my career.
Do you remember your first Chelsea goal against Spurs? Tell us about it.
No, I was happy to score, because I'm the type that would like to score goals sometimes, but not very often, but sometimes. And I was getting sticks from a teammate. You're not scoring, and so when I had my first goal, I was very happy.
Presented to Sean Wright-Phillips. Back it comes, and this time there is no denying Michael Easien. A Chelsea scorer for the first time.
But you've got your favourite goal, which was against Arsenal.
It's one of the biggest, the best goals I've ever scored in my career.
Lampard again. Long range effort by Easien! What a goal! Magnificent strike by Easien! Never discount this Chelsea team.
The way it happens, and because it was last minute, we were losing against Arsenal, and I took that shot. It was kind of going away, and it kind of bent into the goal. So it was a special goal.
Tell us about playing with Drogba.
Drogba is what can I say? Like, he's a big player for big games.
Drogba. Oh, well played, Drogba. What a finish that is. Exhilarating, explosive.
You have him in your team, you have 80% of winning the game. Because even when he's having a bad day, he can still come out with something. And he was so big and powerful, and always causing problems for the defenders. So it was good to have him as a teammate.
Was he a leader in the dressing room as well?
Well, he's a leader. He never stopped talking. Giving advices and encouraging the team, the players.
Your captain, John Terry, how influential was he in that particular team?
Naturally, he's a leader. He's a leader. He knows what to say at the right time, and he uses the right words as well. And he was our biggest leader. People kind of forget what he's done. He has done for club and country. I know the Chelsea fans, they will always remember him as the best leader.
In the midfield, playing alongside Michael Lampard, how did that dynamic? Did it work? How did it work on the pitch?
Well, it did work really well because we kind of I understand each other on the pitch. We train every day, so we knew each other very well, and sometimes you don't even have to look. You look down and you still know this is your teammate next to you, and we just clicked.
Were you that close as well off the pitch?
Off the pitch, not really. No, off the pitch, not really. We don't really hang out off the pitch, but inside the pitch, we are a team. We are together. The top.
2007, 8th season, Jose Mourinho leaving the team. How difficult was that for the team and for you in particular with the kind of relationship that you had with him?
It was very difficult. It was very difficult and very, very sad day for me and some of the other players. I remember Drogba was very down and stuff like that. And those who were close to him kind of told us what was happening, and it was sad, but at the end he left, and we're professional footballers. We have to kind of get on with what we have to do. We said goodbye to him, and then we just go back to business.
And that was Avram Grant who came in.
Well, that's true. Yeah, Avram took over, and I think we kind of had from there we kind of had some good games through, and we managed to get to the final, the Champions League. It didn't end very well for us, but we almost won it.
Your second Premier League title, this time under Carlo Ancelotti, 2009-10 season. How did that compare to your first title?
The first is more special to me, and the second was it's always good to win trophies, and as you said, under Ancelotti, another great guy, great manager, very calm, and he's always close to his players, and kind of give you a lot of confidence when you go out there. So, and happy to win it again, but unfortunately, I didn't finish that season. I got injured at the end again.
And in terms of Ancelotti's managerial style, how was that different to Mourinho's?
Ancelotti is more calmer. He's more calmer. He's very relaxed than Mourinho. Mourinho is, now he's a bit calm than he used to. So.
Your final season at Chelsea, so you started with Andre Villas-Boas and then you ended off with Di Matteo.
We had a very bad season, very, very bad season, one of the worst since I came to Chelsea. But then we managed to win the Champions League, which was amazing. And kind of everyone kind of forgot, what happened during the season. It was at that time it was the only trophy that the club really wanted it. So it was a good feeling. It was a good feeling, and as a player and individually, you dream of winning the Champions League, and it was, I put that on my CV as well.
Why did you leave Chelsea?
That's a good question. Well, actually, I didn't want to leave, and nobody wanted me to leave, But I was not playing that much. I was not having much playing time, and I wanted to play, because playing makes me happy, and the more you play, the more you get better. Then we have all these new players. They were way younger, and which I kind of understand that, it's normal. And then I had a call from Milan, AC Milan, and it was actually my best friend Suleiman Tari who called me and said, AC Milan are interested in you and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, wow. Then it would be great to go there and to play with him, because when we were kids, we would say, it would be nice for us to, to play in the same team in Europe. So when the opportunity came, I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna take.
Michael and Carol in conversation. I say conversation, it's like we're peering around the door, isn't he? So relaxed in that moment. The best years of his life at Chelsea, he says. What was it about that team that Michael fits so well into? And how much of that, given what he said about Jose Mourinho, was down to this figurehead?
Well, I think that's the whole essence of it, to be perfectly honest. He was so accepted in as being one of the guys that he just absolutely adored it. He funny enough, he lives down the road from here as well, and he's such a lovely guy. But when he first came into the club, there was no airs and graces. He just came in. He was going to be a normal player, and once he got his opportunity, it was pretty evident that no one was going to take that away from him. And I think, apart from Makelele, we seem to call it the Makelele position now. I honestly do believe that Michael Easien, at his pomp, and I was privileged to work with him at his pomp, was better than Makelele, because he could spray the ball longer, he could score a goal, he was stronger, and he would protect the back four as well as Makelele did. So I think Michael is better than Makelele. If I can possibly give him a better accolade, I don't know.
You agree?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Take nothing away from Makelele.
No, absolutely.
He was a fantastic player. But for me, in that three positions in midfield for Chelsea during that period under Jose, we always look for a sitter, and then you have a passer, and then you have a runner / a goal scorer. And if you look at that midfield, whereby Michael Easien's role was the passer in there, because Frank was always the runner arriving late into the box. But his passing was not like Di Maria, or was not like a Redondo, or it was so caressful and precise with timings of his run getting into a box, made him almost unplayable, right? And it was so difficult, not just by him alone, but those three together. What a perfect combination. Why Jose named it that Michael Easien was his little missing piece of his jigsaw.
His son, he called him father as well.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how that came about and to fit so nicely. I was lucky enough to play against them with pretty much two different teams at Middlesbrough. And both teams, we couldn't manage to even get a point against Chelsea in any competition.
I wasn't going to bring up the record, I think.
No, well, I was lucky enough not to play against them. Because, when you think of Ballack, Lampard, Easien, to play against them in midfield, George, that's a tough ask.
Well, I make no excuses for showing you this one particular goal. I mean, I've probably watched it on the internet time and time again. I'm single-handedly responsible for getting the hits up. This goal against Arsenal, Chelsea were a goal down, comes to the 84th minute. Talk us through this, George.
Well, this is what I talk about, him being such a Rolls Royce, because when you look at the goal, it's so difficult with the amount of bodies in front of him to get that around and between the players to then curl it back into the goal is just unbelievable. This is my favorite
This is the angle.
Yeah. Well, now you see how difficult it is. And if you're not a professional footballer, how to get that is not only just because of your foot. It's had to do with also your body. Once he hit it, he swerves his body in the air to give the angle of the ball to come back in. A little bit like Roberto Carlos' goal that we all saw.
Against the French.
Against France, the free kick that the ball pretty much went past the post and still came back in. That goal for me just set Michael Easien above everybody else.
But if you see, as soon as Michael hits that ball, if you see it from one of the first replays, he's actually running to the corner, because when you actually hit a ball perfectly, as Michael did that day, you know that no one's going to save it.
So sweetly.
He was actually running away to celebrate as soon as it left his foot, which is fantastic.
The beauty of it is we can try 100 times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It would never, ever. I think the closest I'll probably get is Rosette.
Well,
Top tier.
I'd say you probably do slightly better, but I'm going to give full credit to you, at least for his goal-scoring prowess. Because am I right in thinking that once upon a time, you wanted more from him, you demanded more goals from him?
No, absolutely. Michael, he had so much to offer. Defensively, he was fantastic. Passing the ball, he was wonderful. But But he's got so much more than that. When you see that goal against Arsenal, you see the goal he scored against Barcelona when he crashes in off the underside of the bar. And we were very unfortunate not to beat them that night. He had more to offer as far as that's concerned. His heading ability was sensational. Now, if we ever took a centre-half off, Michael would drop back in and play centre-half because he was so good. He has a leap that is better than most centre-halves, and he was just a beast of a footballer.
17 goals he scored, which is the same as on George Boateng.
Really?
And also a certain Zlatan. So that company's not bad to keep, is it?
Then you're in good company, fella. You're in good company, George.
Talking of good company, shall we find out just who Michael has put in his Chelsea all-time 11?
Peter Cech, for sure.
Oh, amazing! How has that not gone in?
He's the best that I've played with, and he's so big, and always controlling his back four. I'll put William Gallas right back. He's so dedicated. He's such a winner. Left back will be Ashley Cole. I've never seen him having a bad day. My two centre backs will be John Terry.
The captain, the leader.
Good passer of the ball, very good in the air. John Terry will be the captain, of course.
John Terry knows when the stage is his.
I would have been very disappointed not being in his team after so many great years together. Every single away game, we used to have a player singing, and he'd be the first one up, pulling his shorts up here, dancing around the table, everyone singing. Brilliant, great character.
And next to him will be Ricardo Carvalho, great defender, very good at anticipation, great reader of the game. The midfield will be Michael Easien. Well, he's very good at anticipating and winning balls. Next to his left will be Frank Lampard. And, you have him, you're going to get goals from him.
And Lampard has just scored the goal that ultimately will clinch the league title for Chelsea.
Then I'll put myself next to him. I will do the runs up and down for him. The right wing, I will put Damien Duff. He can go and cut in into his left foot and get the ball in the box.
Tries to trick his way past. He has. Here's Damien Duff. Chelsea in front.
And the left, I'll put Ian Robin. He's a good dribbler. A bit selfish, but, he can, with his skills and his speed and the way he takes people on, he can always create something.
And Robin in space on this side just passes it into the net. Ian Robin, 2-0 to Chelsea.
Then, of course, I'll put Drogba there.
Drogba. Oh, it just fell the wrong side, but Drogba! It had to be him, didn't it? It just had to be.
He can hold on to two defenders easily with his big head. Put the ball in the box and he will finish up for you, sir.
I'm really proud to be part of Michael Easien's top 11, and that's good because he needed a striker to score to finish the goals. Michael, I've got 90% chance score.
Who would manage this squad of superstars?
Jose Mourinho, because he's the best in my point of view, and he will know how to, how to get the best out of us.
Thank you to Matt and Phil. Take a look at that Chelsea best 11 then in the company of George Boateng and Ray Wilkins. Ray, we've spoken about such quality in there. You coached most of them. For you, seeing Easien amongst that, he fits into that team.
He fits wonderfully well. What I'd probably do, Caroline, is change Easien with Makelele and bring Ballack in on the right-hand side.
Good job you're not managing it then.
Well, it's a good job I'm not managing
it. Would you put Michael on the bench then?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I would have done. I'd put Michael in place of Makelele, and I would stick Michael Ballack, because in all teams you need wonderful characters and you need life and energy. And Ballack was one of those players where he'd walk in a tunnel and look across at the opposition and they were dead before they even went on the pitch. He just had this aura about him, Ballack. And I just loved Michael Ballack. When he was in the dressing room before the game, you had this energy about him. And with Easien sitting in the middle of him and Frank, perfect.
I love the fear in your voice then, George. You thought Michael Easien wasn't even making it to his own 11. It's all right, he's still there. It's his Premier League today, we can keep him. Those other players then around him, he spoke about this leadership, this quality from John Terry. He obviously makes it into... What's the balance between a player like Michael Easien and then having someone like John Terry behind him, George?
Well, they were all actually individually leaders. Because if you look at it, even Gallas could captain a squad. You know, if you look at it, John Terry was the original captain. But in any team, it's actually not only the one that's wearing the captain's armband. It's the people around it that control the team. And John Terry was an icon. Everybody looks up to him, everybody follows him. If he plays well, everybody else plays well. But what always intrigued me was when things didn't go well, then even as an opponent, I always look at the ones that I thought were vulnerable. But people like John Terry were never, ever down. Even when they were losing, it's just a little tackle that would just get everybody going again, lift them up. And players like Easien used to do that. John Terry would do that. Makelele would do that. Hence why that squad was so well balanced and managed to win the title.
Must be interesting for you, Ray, to see it from the other side. So that's what, before they even walk out on the pitch, someone like George is thinking about who he's going to play. Was John like that in the dressing room? How was
John was a beast in the dressing room. He was the leader of the dressing room. And I honestly think, Caroline, unfortunately now, I think we've lost that leadership, especially Chelsea as well. I don't see any leaders in that Chelsea dressing room. And I think there's a lot of dressing rooms around the country where they don't have that leader. The important thing is when you've got real blokes in the dressing room, you don't need to go in really at half-time to do anything, because by the time you get back in there, it's already sorted out.
They've sorted it out.
They've sorted it out as players. And George knows exactly where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Because you get hold of your teammate and say, I'm sorry, young chappie, you're not quite doing it. So...
I'm sure it's not that polite, but we'll leave it at that just for the moment.
No, we'll leave it at that, yeah, no problem.
The other defenders alongside him then, if you've got John Terry, then you've got the speed and the ability that Michael was pointing to in Ashley Cole.
Yeah. For me, if you look at English football, and especially the national team of England, there are not many good left-backs out there, right? But Ashley Cole, what he did in his time, and the pace that he was playing at, it looked like he was almost like 2-3 years ahead of everybody else. And it was incredible because every 3 days they had a match, either FA Cup, Champions League, international matches, and he was always there. He played pretty much almost 60 games every season without getting injured. And that was incredible and unheard of. Because always sometime during the season you get an injury, he's out for 6 weeks. But Ashley Cole seems to play every 3 days and up that line with the same speed up and down, creating chances, and for others, sacrificing runs. He was fantastic. And for me, probably the best left-back in my era for England.
No, world class. Absolutely the best left-back in the world in his pomp. And the thing with Ashley as well, he had a really chronic bad ankle injury. And I used to say to him, Caroline, when I was coaching him at Chelsea, just leave it off today, Ashley. Don't train. Just have a rest. And he wouldn't rest. He wouldn't rest. And I used to say to him, who do you like playing against? He said, Ronaldo and Messi. I said, are you mad? Are you mad? He said, no, because what they do, Ray, they stop the ball and they move the ball quickly. He said, and I think I'm as quick as them. If someone runs past me, like Aaron Lennon, he said, I've got a problem. But if they stop the ball and move it, I think I can get to that ball as quick as them. And I said to him, Ashley, you must be mad, because I wouldn't want to play against these two guys for all the money in China, all the tea in China. And it was unbelievable. But he loved it.
How brilliant as a coach to have that.
What a player.
But he took pride in defending, right?
Pride in defending. There's not a lot. You don't see that often, George.
No.
You don't see it often.
The lost art of defending.
Yeah, all the fullbacks want to bomb forward.
Exactly.
And create. But to get back and actually also be there, from a coaching point of view, if the ball is on the other side, make sure you tucked in, you can see the player, you can see the ball. Yeah, it's all right making 60-yard run, but can you do the 60-yard back?
He used to be making, we'd be 4-0 up, and he'd be making these runs down the left-hand side. And I'd say, Ashley, why are you doing that? Conserve your energy. We've got another game on Wednesday. Just concern. And he said, Ray, no, I just love doing what I do. So I couldn't stop him.
Hey, as fans watching on, you could feel that sense with him.
He was absolutely wonderful.
We've spoken then about Makelele and Easien. Frank Lampard, just to add another quality player into the mix. What did he bring to Chelsea?
Well, Frank brought intelligence. He brought goals galore. And whenever there was a penalty, you could basically rely on Frank to stick it in the back of the net. Frank was a big game player. The bigger the game, the better that Frank would play. I used to love working with Frank because after every training session, he'd always do his own bit, Caroline. He'd either want me to sling in some balls along the floor where he could come into the box and score, or he'd do his own running along the length of the pitch. But just a fantastic professional footballer. Really fantastic.
What was he like to play against?
Tough, very tough. But I like Frank because he was one of those players that made me realise that even if you're not as gifted technically as other players around you, you can still become a force in such an amazing team. And Frank was always like that. I knew when I was playing against Frank, you have to be alert for his runs because he makes amazing runs into the box, most of the time late, very late. When you don't expect him, then he arrives and he takes a good touch. First touch was always on point. First touch actually makes the goal and he scores. What makes me appreciate Frank Lampard now, especially now even more than back then, is I don't see many midfielders scoring 20 goals a season plus. It's unheard of. Now we know De Bruyne has got a lot of assists, scores goals, but he doesn't do 20 goals plus. And Frank, what he did at those times and games was just, I could barely get 3 goals a season. And
I know how you feel, George.
And he does 20 plus. That just gives you an idea of how good Frank Lampard was. The only issue is that because he was in such a star-studded team, people actually sort of, not appreciate is not the right word, but not realizing of how good Frank Lampard was.